is going to be another response video to Novabug. His Friday Foursome this week is, or for this time, is 4 most cherished games. Not necessarily the most valuable, just the ones that hold a lot of meaning to you. And they have to be from different systems. First, I had one in mind, but then I recalled something else. So an honorable mention to a stall. Now, the Saturn came out shortly before I could get a job. I got a job early. I had to go get some release form signed, but it came out even before that. So I had to really save up for the Saturn. You know, I had Christmas money, birthday money, traded stuff in at or sold stuff to pawn shops. And my town was really small back then. It's grown a lot since, but my mom had to drive me to Texas, which to a Best Buy in Texas, which was like an hour away. Spent everything I had to get the Saturn, but it was not the Virtua Fighter Saturn. It was the one that had 2 demo discs, Panzer Dragoon and Bug. So I get back to our town. I go to rent something, and at the time, Blockbuster only had like 4 or 5 Saturn games. They were all checked out. Oddly, I've never met anyone else around here with a Saturn, but for a while, all the Saturn games were gone. They might have been renting them with the system. But the next day in the sales paper, Best Buy had this: buy the Saturn, get a stall for free. I was crushed. So I thought, man, it's a free game. I don't understand how, the day after, why wouldn't they do this on Saturday? So I asked my parents, and they said, they might not honor it. I don't know. But my dad was nice enough to drop by there. He worked in that area at the time. In that area, in that vicinity, he still had to go out of his way. That's what made it really nice. And he went and explained to him, had the receipt, said, look, it was for his birthday. He bought it yesterday. And they said, sure, no problem. And this is it. It is very scratched up. I was looking at it before I filmed this because this is the only game I owned for a while. So I just played it nonstop. The manual looks good on camera, but it's actually got little dents everywhere because, when you're young and you don't have a lot of something, every one of what you do have is the best thing ever. So I just looked through this manual over and over and over, played the game nonstop. Still a lot of fun. Haven't played it in a bit. Hopefully the scratches haven't affected performance. I don't remember any problems last time I played it. And this is the oddity of the only Saturn game I know of in the US that doesn't have the name on the spine anywhere. And oddly, this has really gone up in price. It was 40 or 50 bucks last time I looked, and I'm not sure why. This was like a $10 game for years, probably a good decade plus after the Saturn came out. But it's a good fun side scroller. If you have a friend, you can play as your friend can play as the bird. In single player, the bird will help you out with attacks and get you health. But looks really good too. I have a video or two of gameplay up of it. So a stall. That's the runner up. But the one that replaced it, and when it hit me, I couldn't believe I didn't think of this immediately. And this is Castlevania 2. Now, me and my brother have only had our interests really intersect a few times in our life. And we were younger. He didn't play video games, but he loved Castlevania 2 and Mega Man 2. But mainly Castlevania 2. And it killed me. I would say, my dad would alternate each weekend. One of you can rent a game. And that was a thing growing up, because I didn't have a lot of games, but they had no problems buying me the system or renting me the games. They just didn't want to buy the games because they thought, the system's $200, $300. You can rent games, for $4 forever. Yay. As a kid, you're going, okay, but I want something to do during the week because that's only good for the weekend. So I'd always have to get like budget games like 10-Yard Fight for the NES or like Celtics versus Bulls for the Genesis, which sucked. And I didn't even really like sports, but I wanted something to play. My brother would always get Castlevania 2. So that's why the rental... him getting this was so important to me because it was our only chance to play something else. And we'd go there and say, look, please get another game. Do not get Castlevania 2. For years we've been getting Castlevania 2. Please. And the off chance he would not get this, it was Mega Man 2. It's like, God, there's got to be something else you want to try. I'd rent anything else just to play it. He would always get this damn game, and it drove me insane. And finally, for one birthday, I think, we got this. Well, it was really his, but when you're kids, they just say, here's your gift, but you know who it's for. Castlevania 2. And I thought, I'm finally free of Castlevania 2, but I wasn't, because then he just switched to renting Castlevania 3. Oh, God. I just said, no, please. That's why, to this day, I don't play this series a lot. I enjoy it, but it's like I have feverish nightmares of having to see, because after he got Castlevania 2, he played it all the time, just constantly. And like whatever we would have any sort of limit on game time, homework, bed, or whatever, we got in trouble, 20, 30 minutes of playing a game. I would look at the few we have and I'd say, okay, let's go play anything else. Let's play a 2-player game. No, Castlevania 2. And he would do jerk things too. Like, I remember one time he told me, oh yeah, I was talking to someone in school and they said if you walked into these spikes, you have to do it right before you're like, all the way up until you're about to die, you'll get transported to this realm. And I did that so many times because I was a stupid kid. But the hundreds of hours I've seen this game being played. I played it growing up too because it's one of the few games we had. And like I said, I like the series. But when you watch someone play something so much, especially when that's the result of you not getting to play anything else new for another week, it was killing me. But definitely Castlevania 2. This isn't going anywhere. This is the same one. It is well worn. I mean, it looks good, but you can see little scratch marks all on the thing from us grabbing it in and out of the console. But definitely Castlevania 2 and Castlevania 3. He kind of got out of games, or he definitely got out of games after Castlevania 3, but this one got a lot of play as well. It's also why I have a soft spot in 2. I've read some people, it's kind of in the series, it's one of the least favorites, but it's one of my favorites because of that. I might not play it a lot, but I really like that day and night cycle. And as a kid, that night cycle freaked me out. I remember when the music would change and I would just rush back to town. Also, one of the few interests me and my brother had were comic books. He still likes science fiction, and so do I, but when we were kids, we loved comics. And I remember seeing this game in the arcade, Captain America and the Avengers. Real quick, I'm just struck by how nice that cover is. That's a really good cover. We played this in the arcades, and then I saw on a GamePro, I think it was coming out for home console, and that was it. I didn't have a Genesis at that point, and there was an Avengers game for the NES that we got, and it was crap. But I saw this in a magazine, and I just begged my parents for Christmas. I said, please get us a Genesis with Captain America. Please, please, please. And that went on for months. I had only 2 magazines that had the preview of this, and I reread that preview over, and I eventually just took the preview out and threw the magazine away just so I could stare at the pictures, because we had one arcade in town, and we very rarely got to go to it. And this was there, and we just wanted to put all of our money into it. It's if you've never seen it before, it's up to 2 players. It's like Final Fight Streets of Rage brawler. There's Vision, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Captain America. And there's a bunch of mainstay villains of the Avengers here. You see Red Skull. And so yeah, I get the Genesis, and here it is. They got Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and this, and it turns out that was another Best Buy special. If you bought this system with Sonic 1, that it came with it, they would give you Sonic 2. So they had the money to buy us this. I lost my mind. And then that was the Christmas that they did not pack an AC adapter into the box. So I had to wait till my dad went back to work to go to that same Best Buy. And that meant almost my entire holiday off of school, I could not play my Genesis. I got I think a remote control car too, and I would just very sadly drive it up and down our dead end road, just dreaming about playing this. And when I finally got to, I gotta say, it did not disappoint. Looking back now, if you playing games now, you expect arcade quality, but back then you just knew it wasn't going to happen. But to me, this was close enough. The sound samples are really muffled, but they're still etched into my memory. Captain America, and is it Mandarin where he says "Wah-ha-ha-ha"? It's so muffled and bad, but it blew us away. The controls felt really good, although yes, it is a little off. The controls not necessarily, but the hit detection is. Still, I love this all the same. I was looking inside. I don't know where the manual is anymore. It's gone, sadly, but I do have the pins still. Which, as a kid into comics, that is super cool. But yeah, this did not disappoint. I absolutely love this. And I was surprised to read later on that I think the Super Nintendo version is not quite as good as this one. But yeah, Captain America and the Avengers for the Genesis. One of the games that, to me, lived up to the, I guess, self-imposed hype. I don't think anyone was really hyping this up but me. In my brain, this was the best thing in the world. And yeah, did not disappoint. A lot of fun. Okay, next up, now, my brother is really into music, always has been, so is my dad. And one year we were on vacation, and Lollapalooza was going on. And so, we were in the hotel room, and my brother was like, "Oh, I think Lollapalooza's around here." He's going on and on, and I'm just hanging out. And I remember I got a Game Fan, and they talked about Killer Instinct in it, the home console version. But they also reviewed the launch lineup of the Saturn, I want to say. Maybe it's the imports. But I remember reading reviews for Daytona USA and Panzer Dragoon, and I just read that magazine because it was probably a 12-hour trip to wherever we were. I read that magazine front to back, nonstop, over and over in the hotel room. I couldn't stop reading it. And so I was kind of just sitting on the bed reading that, flipping through some other magazines and stuff. And my dad comes in and he tells him, "Hey, I got tickets. We're going to Lollapalooza. Let's go right now." And so they went. So I was just in the hotel room reading the magazine. My mom was on the other side, like looking at a magazine. And True Lies came on. I'll never forget this. That damn line in True Lies where Bill Paxton says, "Nothing gets them wet like a vet." You do not want to hear that when your mom's around you. And I was just, oh no. So I just buried my face in the magazine even more. But that leads to the next game, because after we get back, I didn't really think anything of it. They called me in the kitchen to sweep the floor. And I was like, damn. Why don't get him to do it too? But no, they said, no, you have to come do it. So, all right. So I'm sweeping, and I'm going around the fridge, and I see something, and it was a little wrap package, and it was Mortal Kombat 2. My parents said, look, your brother got to go to Lollapalooza. It took some time out of the trip. You're probably bored in the room, which I wasn't. I mean, we were at that age where we didn't really talk that much to each other, but I appreciated the sentiment. They said, so we knew you were looking forward to this, so we got it for you. And this is the copy I got. It's actually still complete. I was so into this game that I woke up before school. I wasn't in high school yet. I think I was in like 8th grade. Upper middle school, I guess, if you're not from around here. And or junior high. I would wake up an hour early on school mornings just to put an hour into Mortal Kombat 2. And then they would have to drag me off of it to bring me to school. And a guy I'm friends with now that I wasn't friends with then, I remember how we kind of met was I was talking to someone else about it. And he said, "Hey, I have the whole move list here. Do you want it? I can print out another set." And that's how we got to talking. And we're still friends today. He was in my wedding. Mortal Kombat 2, bringing people together. But what a great conversion. The friendships I thought were a novelty. Now I just don't like them. But at the time, you're kind of like, oh, that's quirky. And I'm guessing they did it really to get some of the flack off of them. Kind of how the Crypt Keeper was introduced to get people off their back, saying obviously it's just a comic, it's not a big thing. I'm guessing that's what that was. Or they just had, that was their sense of humor. Really went over the top in 3 and Ultimate and Trilogy. But fun enough in this. But the characters, I loved Baraka. I really liked the redesign Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Reptile was great. I used to play Reptile a lot. Scorpion has this great takedown move that's really well animated. I used to love his fatality where he slices the throat and then he cuts you in half. Just, a lot of fun. Great memories of this. Friends coming over, playing this all night. Mortal Kombat 2. This is staying with me forever. And finally, for another Christmas, my dad used to hear me play Warcraft 1. I had a 3 level demo of it. I've talked about this before, but I cannot find it. I actually sent in a form, and Blizzard, they said, if you're interested, send in this form, and I did, and Blizzard sent me a demo disc. But it turns out it's like a pre-release demo disc, because the later demo was different, had a different level. And so I can't find it. I found the envelope a few years back with their old address and stuff on it, but not the disc. But anyway, I finally found it, and I played. So my dad heard me play that demo, and I played that three level demo, hundreds of times. Let's say, oh yeah, probably hundreds of times, because I couldn't get the full game for a while. Finally got the full game, and back then prices used to drop kind of fast at a local Office Depot. For some reason, after a few months, they would just take their stock and dump it into a bargain bin for $10 to $20, games that were, 40, 50 plus. And that's how I got Warcraft 1. Still over there. Love that game still. Great atmosphere. Very different from later Warcrafts. But I wanted this really bad. We had just got a Pentium 90, probably earlier that year, and I'd been saving up for a computer and just bugging them for one for ages. And so I really wasn't expecting this, because I got that computer. It was a family computer, but I was the one that wanted to use it the most. And I opened this, and this game got so much play out of it. First of all, it's a fantastic game. It's still fantastic. I have the Battle.net edition over there, which is compatible with later Windows operating systems or iterations, whatever you want to call it. Everything about it, the cutscenes, which are basic now, but at the time were great, especially the one where the turtles eat the sailors that are floating down. Little effects like this. The ice, you have the snow and the ice, and the ships can land in the ice, and you hear a slight crunch. I'm not sure if the screenshot shows it, but by the orc cuts, there'd be little snowmen or Christmas trees decorated. I mean, especially when you're playing this at Christmas, those scenes right there, and because there was a map editor, I used to just make tons of maps with the winter set. Just an amazing game. And this was at the time where I just started high school. The few kids in my neighborhood went to a different high school, and for some reason at that age, when that happens, you just stop talking to each other. I don't know what that's about, but even though they were like 2 houses down from me, we suddenly had different sets of friends, and we just didn't speak. And because we were too young to drive, I couldn't hang out with any of my friends from school, so I stayed in the entire Christmas break. I maybe went outside to do chores twice, and I just played Warcraft 2. I have vivid memories of just sitting in this one uncomfortable chair. And these, back then, talk shows were huge, and it was just all day of talk shows nonstop, and just letting them play in the background or switching to like the USA channel to find something like horror or science fiction, because that's before they used to show the same show, 80 times over with just a different profession, with the snarky police officer or doctor or whatever. They had a varied programming back then. Had that play, USA rant aside, and just go through the campaigns of this nonstop over and over. And then my good friend, who I'm still friends with, he got it, and we connected to play online together. Well, then his dad got into it, and his dad would connect from his work on his lunch break, and we would all three play together. We did that a few times, and that was incredible to have 3-player games, especially one with your friend's dad. But me and my friend played it all the time. Even we evacuated together like 7 years ago, and we played Warcraft 3 in the same hotel room together, which brought back a lot of memories. And then Kali came out, where you could play online with people from all over the country, which was $20, but it circumvented having to need a local network. Then Khan was a free version of that, and that's what I played. You can meet in chat rooms, meet up with people, and play from all over the world just on your regular dial-up connection, but play them anywhere. This game is one of the most perfect for its time. Like, this would be like a 10 out of 10. I think most magazines gave it that. Just a phenomenal game. Still so many memories. I still love these graphics. That SVGA, some really nicely done units. Of course, there's things like if you click on the sheep enough, they explode. You click on the units enough, and they start to get sarcastic in their little voice responses. But, all right, 17 minutes. Enough of that. Another fun video to do. Thanks for watching, and I will put his video, a link to his below, and I encourage everyone to do this as well. It's a blast, and it gets the community involved. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to everyone later.